I don't believe in God. I know God.
I love me some Jesus.
You're doing too much.
That's crazy. That's on the next episode.
It's the moon reading.
I rock with you, YaYa.
It's all love.
They better listen to this advice. We good.
You crazy girl.
This is what this show is about, all right? We
Put
keep
the
it real.
real and real talk. The God in God talk.
And that's a wrap.
For the people, so we're all starting from the same place. What is a crisis of faith? What are we talking about when we
So
say that?
basically, a crisis of faith, it's like a period of deep questioning or a doubt about one's beliefs, right? Especially in like a religious context. That's usually where we hear this crisis of faith coming from. It can often be stemmed from a painful experience that we have, either with that comes with confusion, grief, and it's like a disconnect that we sense from God or whom we perceive God to be. And so these are often triggered by major events in our lives or conflicting evidence that we may see, challenges in a person's faith. And it can also be caused by like scientific advancements that basically contradict a religious view, right? Obviously, the more that we learn, the more that society progresses, new information is always coming out. And so some signs that someone might be experiencing a crisis of faith can include you feel like giving up, you feel like hiding, you feel like you're skeptical of God's promises, and you start to have like these conditional prayers. I think we've all like heard of them, and like, okay, if you do this, then, or I'll do this if you do this. It's kind of like we start negotiating with God. So that's really like, in a more general sense, what a crisis of faith is.
Okay. So interesting. Is this something that you have personally experienced, or any do you know? Have you ever seen this like in real life?
Yeah, in real life. Yeah. I mean, I think I've definitely experienced it. I think for the most part, everyone, if you have like a relationship with God, at one point you will experience something like this. It doesn't mean you're a bad person, because I think a lot of people feel like if they have a crisis of faith, they're like a bad person. I think it's very normal. And it's also something that I think that always reminds me of a scripture in that says, like, if you have a question, ask, you know. And so whenever, like, I feel like, for me personally, I think my own crisis of faith that I can say now, that's what it was when I like first decided to give my life to Christ, and I was learning more about God. And I grew up Catholic, so my view of like who God was like very angry, very like strike it down type of God. Um and then when I like gave my life to Christ and like decided to like really have a relationship um with God, that really made me question who I was as a person, because my Catholic voice was telling me, "Oh no, you can't be gay and a Christian. You can't do that. That those two don't go together." So for me, I was questioning, like, okay, if I can't be that, then do you want me to like live out here like suffering, denying who you made me to be? And then does that mean you don't love me? Um, and like, if you don't love me, like, does that mean like I'm never gonna get to meet you, like, personally? Like, I had like all these questions. Um, and so for me, going through that crisis of faith really helped actually solidify my relationship with God, because I did exactly what scripture told me to do. I asked God to show me that God loved me. I asked God to show me that I was right in God's eyes. And through like a lot of prayer, a lot of scripture, and just having that time with God, I knew that I was. And then I felt like once I got my answer to that, there was nothing else nobody could tell me. Because I got my answer. And those crises of faith can definitely, I think they can make or break that relationship with God. Because other people who have crisis of faith could be the loss of a loved one, and that's not always so easy. I feel like my crisis of faith wasn't like gut wrenching. Maybe it was to me at that time, but now looking at it, I'm like, you be at. Um, but seeing other people go through crisis of faith, I've seen plenty of people come out of it and come out of it strong. But I've also heard of people who don't. So it's hard. What about you?
Yeah. I think so. I think I really relate with what you were saying in terms of it's clear what it was looking back on it.
Yeah.
But at the time when I was going through it, I just felt drained, depleted, disconnected, but I didn't have the words, I didn't have the vision to say this is a crisis of faith. I think what sent me to seminary in the first place, in some ways, was a crisis of faith. Um, it was like when I first started thinking about it for real, it was like 2014 ish after Eric Garner was killed,
Yeah.
and that was my moment that kind of sent me over in terms of like my Black consciousness, political consciousness of like, oh no, this shit is really messed up here, and it doesn't matter what you do. It could be something big, something small. It doesn't matter, and that I think that from that time period till about 2016-ish, when I think that's when his killer kind of got off, was not indicted. That was a time in which I was really like, yo, what kind of God would put power in people's hands to treat you like that? And like it, like wow, it just was not making no sense to me.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to read more into like Black liberation theology, so on and so forth. I decided to go to seminary, and I have it in my Instagram handle like something like, oh, I lost my religion and found God.
Yeah.
But no, I lost and let go of my religion through some like I think that's what was going on like societally. But when I was at seminary, I don't think I talked about this on the show really, but I spent some time doing chaplaincy in like a joint program with our school and another school, going to Rikers Island and doing some non-religious chaplaincy on the island. And girl, that was now mind you, I'm a free woman. I would go on the island and come off the island. It was the worst time,
Yeah.
just the worst time
Yeah.
ever. It was the most draining, gut-wrenching, painful, just so much energy, so much negative energy. So people like going through some of the worst times of their lives, and in a system that's made to perpetuate that. And I think that I was like in, what do they call it? In the dark night of the soul at that point. And I think a part of coming out of that crisis of faith for me was letting go of some of the religious ties that I had going up into that point, and feeling more confident or free to explore my spirituality. I feel like that sounds so corny, like, oh, I let go
it's true.
of the religion to focus on the relationship. But I think that time and some of the relationships that I made, like the relationship people that I made, and being in such close proximity to people that were in such immense suffering, I think changed my perspective a lot. And I think some of the insights that I gained coming out of that time um, allowed me to become close to God again and re-envision what a powerful God is, even if that God doesn't have the power, or I won't say doesn't have, but the power of that God is not what I construct God's power to be. And so it's not like, oh, I'm out of this situation, or someone who's in an unfair situation is out of that situation. It for me, it turned far more towards survival and what it means to be able to survive than what it means to be comfortable, I guess. I don't know, or have what we think or what I thought I wanted to happen. We've both experienced crises of faith. We both made our way out. We're at a place where we feel comfortable. We could talk about it, XYZ. We started the episode saying people are going through it. Do you feel like that people are going through is a crisis of faith, though?
I feel like for some it is, and for some it's not. I feel like when I look into like my groups of like churches and stuff like that, I feel like I don't really see a crisis of faith as much as I see a calling out to God, for like
Mm.
wisdom of like, okay, well, where do we go from here? Because we thought we had A, B, and C, and now it's not. And so, God, can you please lead us to this? Like, where? And I feel like it's more of like, I'm a hold on, I'm a hold on. I don't know if in my circle I have seen like a crisis of faith. I feel like I've seen a lot more like, okay, we gonna hold on. We gonna hold on even more to God now. We gonna seek more instruction. We gonna organize. We gonna try to, do different things. I feel like people are starting to move, starting to figure out what moves they want to make and how we strategizing and resources and all that. And then there's also space for those who may be having a crisis of faith to just come together and be like, hey, you know what? If you're having this, you aren't alone and you don't have to go through it alone. And I feel like that's the beauty of people, man. That's one of the beautiful things about humanity when it's doing what it's supposed to, when it's like really seeking out community. But I can't really say I've heard people who like have a crisis of faith. Have you?
So I think that this is the point where we have to separate real life
Mm-hmm.
from internet life
Yeah.
and like what we see other places.
Yeah, yeah.
And so initially when we were thinking about this episode, I think I was really had my internet brain on of it seems like some people are going through a crisis of faith where it's just like, how could the I don't know, the Christian right elect Trump considering that he's so immoral, XYZ, right? And, what does that mean for me? What does that mean for Christianity? What does that mean? But that's the stuff I'm seeing on TikTok. That's the stuff I'm seeing on threads. Though that is not necessarily reflective of the conversations that are happening in my actual community and with the people I love and like that surprise and that sense of like crisis not no actually thinking about it not so much. I think that it is possible, and I'm gonna tell the truth because this is our show and we can say how we
That's
really
right.
feel. I'll be real, it seems like a lot of white people are going through it, but that's a crisis of self. That's
Yes.
not a crisis of faith.
Yes, yes. There may be a crisis
And
in
so,
accountability, but not a crisis of
right.
faith, right?
And so if that's something that y'all communities are working through right now, good luck with
Yeah.
that. As for me and mine, crisis of faith, not so much. Even in terms of people that might be going through it, just doing research, thinking about this topic. For those of you who might not be familiar with Friedrich Nietzsche, the
Hey.
philosopher who famously declared God is dead. Mind you, he did this back in like the 1800s.
Right.
So we've had over 100 years of this at this point of public thinkers, public people saying crisis of faith, life is so hard, politics is getting cray. Maybe God is dead. And what he was saying with that was basically the death of God signifies like a crisis of values, meaning in society, a push for people to find new sources of purpose and morality outside of established religions. So I feel like if that's something that the Western, the white Western world has been grappling with for the past 100 years, I'm not sure that the election of T-Rump is putting the cherry on that.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
I don't know if that's necessarily what's pushing us over the edge. And so, are some people going through a crisis of faith? Perhaps. Is it because of this one and singular election? No, in
No.
in my in
Yeah,
my take.
yeah, yeah. I hear you on that. I hear you on that. Do you think so okay, so let's say, maybe you are, maybe you aren't. Maybe you're listening to us, maybe you're not.
Right. Maybe this is real life. Maybe it's not.
Exactly. What do you think then people can hold on to right now? Like, what do you have faith in, and like, what is your what are your beliefs like telling you now in this moment?
Mm. What are my beliefs telling me in this moment? Um, my beliefs and my faith is telling me to go really small, like to go really small, to go really inwards. I think that we talked a little bit about community, like, real life community, the people that we love, we like, who we know, who we trust, versus, the internet, the algorithm, organizations, even, outwards. And I think that now is a time that I am being pushed closer to my values, like family values that I was taught growing up. I think now is a time that, we and I need to fortify my body, like really take care of my health, what I'm eating, um, drink my water, make sure that I'm not doing things that, you know, I'm being very sensitive to folks who have disabilities, in which there is no cure. There's nothing you can do in any either way. But for people where there are preventative things that can be done, I don't want to put myself at the helm of the medical system right now. I don't. I'm turning in more inward into my community, and so I think as clearly people are in office that want to cut social programs, that want to cut the net out from under us, well, then this might mean that I need to tighten up my finances right now to make sure that I am preparing myself for if there's ever, a need or a windfall, so that I'm not putting myself in an even more vulnerable situation. I'm checking in on my direct neighbors, on my family, on people I care about. And if I say hello, it might be a little more than a hello, might be a real little check-in. Because a lot of the rhetoric that is moving folks and this country, people, whatever, closer and closer to fascism relies on fear and separation. And while going big might mean organizing and protesting and doing all these things, I think for me, going small and going inwards means fortifying what I really know, and, like really making sure that me and mine are good. And that's not in an exclusive way of saying,
Mhm.
someone can't join the tribe,
Yeah.
but that is saying that where there's trust, let's really make sure that there's trust. And we have systems in place to make sure that as we take people in, we could trust them too. And like I feel like I sound so paranoid, and I sound so but I do believe it. Like I don't. It doesn't make sense for me to give in to doom and gloom. That's not who I am. I come from a long line of survivors. We've been surviving. We're gonna keep surviving. And not only are we gonna survive, but we're gonna survive and help the people that we can help. And that also means focusing on strengthening what we have, so that whatever, because we don't know. I feel like a lot of us are waiting for the other shoe to drop, of like, okay, what does this really mean? Like for our lived experiences right now, like what's about to happen? But we cannot, like, I really do feel like God is telling me, or my spirit is telling me, that now is the time to really cross your T's and dot your I's and make sure that home is good. Like my home right now needs to be clean. My body needs to be purified, or as healthy as it can be right now. I need to be eating good. And this is all aspirational. I'm trying. I just ordered Chinese food 5 minutes ago. But in all
Yeah,
seriousness,
nah, I hear you.
I don't know, that's what I'm getting. Well, how about you?
I think same wave actually. It's very similar to what I wrote down for my answer. When I was like,
Weird.
I was like, you know what do I have faith in? I have faith in that God is still alive. I have faith in that there's still work still needs to be done. But I was also very trying to be more conscious of one, absolutely, where am I spending my money? Um and what am I putting in my body? Making sure my, family and community is well as also. Um and then I was also thinking of just like the community that I live in. Okay, you know what? It's time for me to be more involved. It's time for me to like, okay, let me, there's always, I think I said this before, like I'll try to make it out to some of these like meetings that they'll have like in the districts and stuff like that. Um, but I don't, it's not so much trying. I just need to go. That's really it. When they have them, I need to go. Um, Making sure I'm more aware of what's actually going on, small businesses, what's going on here, what are other people, how, checking in on other folks around me, especially those who are older. I know a lot of like people in the neighborhood who have health issues, and so like
Mm-hmm.
seeing it's funny because I think over the past like month or so, we've been talking more and more of just like more natural remedies, for healing and stuff like that. And like I come from a long line as well of like natural healers and like shaman, how y'all want to call them now. But you know, so like my grandfather very much into like, he was what we call a curandero in Spanish, which is like shaman in English. And so was my grandmother. She very much into like natural remedies and stuff like that. And I think out of like probably my siblings, I'm the one who took the most out of that because I'm always like, "Oh, how can I fix this naturally?" But just learning more of that and really checking in with others and checking in, I think, more with myself, because I think I'm very much the person who will check in with others and I'll leave myself last to check in. But you know I can't check in with others if I'm not checking in with myself. Like I can't be great and helpful to others if I'm not making sure I'm good first. um so I definitely agree with you on that. And I think one of the things that has been laying heavy on my head for this is just knowing when to follow and knowing when to lead. Because I think
Mm,
there's time for both. And I think that's what's been on my mind, and I think that's what I'm gonna hold on to.
mm. I appreciate that. I'm gonna add one more in there. I think that there's a lot of unknown right now, and that can be so scary for so many people. But I have faith in the vast unknown of the unknown that is God. And for all of the things that our human eyes say are negative and terrible, and realistically, like, we live on earth. I don't want anybody to be in pain or to suffer the actual lived effects of things. And on the long scope of things, we really don't know how it's going to play out. We don't know what our role is going to be. We don't know anything other than just stay ready for when you get tapped in. And yeah, I genuinely have faith that it can all end in the good.
Absolutely, absolutely. I feel like I have to believe it because my God is good. To keep the conversation going, tell us what you think by following us on Instagram or Twitter at Real Talk on God Talk.
It's YaYa, and you're listening to the moon reading. For the period of November 12th through 26th, it's all eyes towards the November 15th full moon, which is named the Beaver Moon, and which will be the final supermoon of 2024. As promised, for today's moon reading, we are diving deeper into the ever-alluring, mysterious, and vengeful sign of Scorpio. Even if you weren't born under the sign itself, there's so much wisdom that we can all take from the Scorpionic energy in the atmosphere during this time. Scorpio season runs from late October to late November, and it is a time that is often associated with mystery, intensity, pain, and pleasure. So let's break down 5 of the key themes of Scorpio season to see how they can guide us all during this time. 1. Embracing transformation. Did you know that Scorpio is one of just a few zodiac signs with evolutionary levels? The Scorpion, the Eagle, and finally the Phoenix. The 3 stages represent how Scorpio can transform from a reactive, stinging Scorpio to a transcendent Phoenix. Like the sign itself, Scorpio season is all about teaching people to embrace transformation, shedding old skin, and allowing new growth to take place. During this time, it's natural to feel more reflective, even a little bit restless. Take some time to think about the areas in your life where you've been holding on to things that no longer serve you. It can be an old habit, a limiting belief, or even a relationship. Allow yourself to simply let go and see what unfolds when you make space for new possibilities. 2 is uncovering the truth. During this time, Scorpio energy encourages us to look beneath the surface. This season pushes us to confront the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Maybe there's something you've been avoiding, whether it's a hard conversation, a project you're procrastinating on, or something you're just resisting. Scorpio season asks us to dig deep, face those things head on. Do what you do, be grounded and more aligned in what you really want. 3. Owning your intensity. Scorpios are known for their intensity and passion. They do not shy away from powerful emotions, and neither should anyone. This season reminds us that feeling deeply is good. In fact, it's essential to living a more fulfilling life. Often society tells us hold back, stay in control, keep it in, but Scorpio season invites us to experience life fully, go deeper into our passions, desires, even our fears. 4, strengthening resilience. Scorpio is a fixed water sign, which means it has a grounding, stabilizing energy, even amidst emotional depths. Scorpio season reminds us that we have the power to withstand difficulties and come out stronger on the other side. Maybe this year has been challenging, or maybe you've gone through some personal changes that have left you feeling unsettled. Scorpio energy is here to show you that you can handle whatever life throws your way. Then finally, 5, welcoming rebirth. Scorpio season is about rebirth. After letting go, facing truths, diving deeper into our feelings, we're often left with a powerful opportunity to start fresh. This is a time to set intentions for who you want to become moving forward. Who you were is done. Use the season to commit to your growth and just trust that everything that you've experienced, especially the harder stuff, is preparing you for something even better. So cheers to Scorpio season. Happy birthday to my fellow Scorpios. Keep the transformation going.
Thank you, Yaya, for that moon reading. Always making sure we're staying right around here.
We try.
Thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of Real Talk on Godtalk, podcast for people who skip church for brunch on Sundays. Be sure to follow us on social media. We're on Instagram at Real Talk on Godtalk. We're on TikTok at Real Talk on Godtalk. Yaya's on TikTok. Give him your handle, girl.
Oh. Yaya's _good_fruit. Maybe you'll find me. Listen, just go on the Real Talk page.
Yeah, exactly. You'll find her. If you're meant to find her, you will find her.
Right.
But yeah, make sure y'all follow us, join the conversation. We love to hear your thoughts. Hit us up, slide in our DMs, participate in our surveys, and just let us know anything y'all want to hear. Feel free to hit us up. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, keep your head up. It's more than doom and gloom.
Yes. All right, we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.
Love ya. I don't believe in God. I know God.
I love me some Jesus.
You're doing too much.
That's crazy. That's on the next episode.
It's the moon reading.
I rock with you, Yaya.
It's all love.
They better listen to this advice. We good.
You crazy girl.
This is what this show is about, all right? We
Put
keep
the
it real.
real and real talk. The God in God